The following segment is sponsored by Food City.
Welcome into the Stateline Sports Reporters Podcast. I am News 5's Heather Williams, and joining me is our newest member of the Stateline Sports Reporters. This is Josh Woodman. Before we dive into college football, kind of get everybody ready for the weekend, why don't you tell everybody here a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here in Bristol?
Sure. So I grew up, born and raised in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, and I went to Syracuse University. I know there's been a couple Syracuse grads through the pipeline here in Appalachia. I spent almost 3 years in WVVA's sports department up in Bluefield, West Virginia. So I'm familiar with the Virginia side of our high school teams and Virginia Tech, obviously. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and someone that actually knows, like you said, the Virginia teams. It makes it probably a little bit easier for you too. You only have to learn half of the 50 high schools that we cover instead of all 50 of them.
And it's funny, I'm familiar with the Virginia schools, and it's weird being on the other side of those games with Graham and Richlands and Tazewell. Like, I've heard of all the big schools on the Virginia side, but now being on the other side of those rivalries, it's cool.
Yeah, and now you have to learn to not like them. No, I'm
exactly.
Just kidding. Completely kidding. But it is funny you bring that up, and we'll start with a college game that I have been on both sides of, and that is ETSU Chattanooga. I worked in Chattanooga for 10 years. This rivalry is crazy. People in Chattanooga do not like people in Upper East Tennessee, and vice versa when it comes to the athletics. Beautiful people down in Chattanooga. They feel the same, but this is a great rivalry. But a game that ETSU has not won since 2018, and they have not won inside of Finley Stadium since 2020. So when you look at this ETSU Chattanooga game, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking to see who plays quarterback. We know Cade and Jacoby are out. Third string was kind of up in the air based on Monday when you talked to Coach Healy, so it might be up to a fourth string quarterback on the road against a team they haven't won in that long against. Not loving ETSU's odds.
Well, the good news is that this is not I don't want to say your grandfather's Chattanooga, because your grandfather's Chattanooga was terrible, but your father's Chattanooga, right? The Russ Huseman teams, the Rusty Wright teams that have just been juggernauts. This is not them. They are 2-4, which is unusual for Chattanooga these days. So they're struggling a little bit too. When we talked to Coach Healy on Monday, who, oh, by the way, born and raised in Chattanooga, was on the staff at UTC for, I think, 5 or 6 years, somewhere around in that range. There was an outside chance that Cade could be back. They said that he practiced last week, but it got worse the less he rested, so they decided to rest him last week. So I guess there's a possibility he could play. There's obviously that possibility that Jake could play. There's a possibility the freshman could play, which when you bring in 3 FBS quarterback transfers, 2 Power 4 quarterback transfers, you're not counting on playing your freshman. You're not. So, yeah, I think that's really going to be the big storyline. And then if the freshman does have to go, I think the defense, you have to look at ETSU's defense, which played outstanding. I mean, lights out. They did not get enough talk. Partially, that's our fault, but not enough talk about them, how they played against VMI. If you have a freshman quarterback, that same defense is going to have to show up against Chattanooga.
Yeah, we're going to need another special teams player of the week type performance from the special teams unit as well.
Yeah, the special teams played really well. A couple of small miscues, but Xavier Galvez has really kind of stepped up, and really he had some, not just one for a touchdown, but a couple of really good returns in that game. So I agree. So who do you think? Who do you think is going to win this one?
As much as I would love to ingratiate myself to the ETSU fans in this area, I saw what they did against Mercer. They looked very, very impressive for most of the game, squandered a double-digit lead. Same thing against Furman, squandered a double-digit lead after looking impressive. That's with Cade and Jacoby. Now, of course, at the time of taping, their status up in the air, as you mentioned. They haven't won there in that long. I got to lean Chattanooga, but a healthy Cade or Jacoby could change that.
I think that if Jake McNamara plays, they actually have a pretty good chance too. He looked really impressive, and sorry, Jake, I was not familiar with your game. I did not know. I know you went to New Mexico State, so obviously the kid's got talent, but all of the focus had been on the 2 Power 4 quarterbacks. I think if he plays, or if his brother Cade plays, Jacoby's definitely out. He was in a walking boot. I don't see how he'll play. But if one of the other 2 play, I think they have a chance. They've got to finish games. And they did that against VMI. That was VMI, right? I mean, VMI, they've had some great years. This is not one of them. They were on their second string quarterback in that game as well. But this team has so much hype and so much, people were, look at all these transfers. Look at all these guys coming in. They've got to prove it. They got to do it at Chattanooga. I don't know if they can. I saw the team that went to the FBS quarterfinals lose to Chattanooga. It was their one, two, or maybe their only SoCon loss, but in Finley Stadium. There's something about that stadium and about that aura that, for whatever reason, just gets ETSU. Probably going to pick the Mocs. Don't hate me, but I until they can show me they can win down to Chattanooga, it's hard for me to pick them to win down there. Let's talk about, we're going to come back to the third Saturday in October in a second. I want to talk about,
wait for it.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about Emory and Henry, because they haven't played a ton of home games. They've only had a handful. And, with the Appalachian States and the ETSUs and the Virginia Techs and Tennessees of the world, it's hard for them to get a lot of airtime. But what Quentin Hunter has done in 2 seasons at Emory and Henry is unbelievable. They're up now to 22 in the national rankings. They're at home this weekend. What do you see from Emory and Henry?
I see a team that just finds a way to win. Like, their numbers aren't eye-popping yet. They're scoring about 35 points a game, which is a nice number, but they're not lighting it up through the air. They're not like running all over you. They have a very strong run game, but at the end of the day, from what I've seen so far, good defense too, they just find a way to win, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, it's been crazy, right? Because Hunter took over as interim head coach at the beginning of last season, and a lot of people didn't know what to expect, right? They'd had the same head coach for a long time. He had built a nice little program there, successful in Division III, helped transition them to Division II. But what Coach Hunter has been able to do is take them to that next level, from being a nice little Division III program and a decent Division II program to being a real contender. And he's done it in a hurry. And he's done it with a lot of the same players that were there when they were playing Division III football. That's impressive. There's a lot of local players on the team, which is also really fun to see. The local kids having success on the Division II level. And I really like what they've got going there at Emory and Henry. I think it's really, really impressive. And we can go ahead and do picks, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm picking against Coach Hunter. After all that took was for them, again, for a second straight year, to beat Carson Newman, for me to be a believer. They should have been in the playoffs last year. I think they got robbed. I think they're going to make sure that this year there's no doubt and they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to follow your lead. Ian H. has looked impressive since I've been down here, and why bet against a train that's keeping rolling?
All right, so let's switch gears to the other Division II school that's playing Tusculum off this week. UVA Wise is at home. They're coming off a huge win against, God love, but not the greatest program in the world. And for UVA Wise, their biggest thing has been injuries. They've had a ton of injuries that have, they lost their starting running back pretty early on in the season. And it's just been really difficult for them to get things rolling. What do you see out of the Cavaliers?
I see a mess is probably too strong, but when you're dealing with as many injuries as they have, it's hard to build consistency and just anything you need to win a football game. So I think it's just a number of issues just combining into one big problem. That's just been what's gotten in their way so far.
Yeah, Wise is a really difficult place. Like, it's gorgeous up there. And when people come up there, they love it. Yeah. But I think it's kind of a difficult place to recruit to. It's not near anything. It's kind of in, the middle of, quote unquote, nowhere. I know we all love it here, but most people coming from other places think of that as kind of the middle of nowhere. Like I said, when kids get on campus, they really do like it, but I think it's a really tough place to recruit. I think Gary Bass has done a very nice job. The program was not in the greatest situation when he took over a year ago. They have had some good seasons, but they were definitely on the downside when he took over. I think it's going to take some time for him to get his players and what he wants going there. And you can see it, right? You can see flashes. They look very good against Tusculum. I know Tusculum is a program that's also currently struggling a little bit. They obviously looked unbelievable. And when you have a team like what they played last year, you need to do what Wise did, and you need to beat them down, not only for your psyche, but just to show that you are, who your name on your chest says you are. You are a Division II program. You need to take care of those lower division schools. But yeah, the injury bug has been too much, really too much for them to get past. And so I'm not going to pick them this week. But I do think that there will be some more success coming down the road for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and there's only up to go from there.
All right. I know you guys are like, stop it. We don't care about this. I mean, I know the Wise and the Tusculum people and the Emory people do, but the talk this week, the game everybody wants to talk about, the third Saturday in October, and it actually is on the third Saturday of October. I love giving Tennessee fans a hard time when it's not on the Thursday of October. This year it is Tennessee, Alabama. The Vols won this game a year ago in Knoxville, carried the goalpost, put in the Cumberland River. Is there a repeat in Tuscaloosa this year?
Oh man, that's the question we've been waiting for the answer for. It's hard for me to say that they're going to go into Tuscaloosa for sure and get it done. They have the potential to do it. I know they haven't won there since 2003, I believe. It's not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore. There's all that chatter nationally. Oh, Alabama's not what it was. All they've done since losing to Florida State is rip off 5 straight wins, including over Georgia, who Tennessee lost to. Oh, man, I think it's hard for me to lean one way or the other. Again, I want to ingratiate myself to the fine folks here in the Tri-Cities and pick the Vols. It was my first game in Neyland Stadium last week. Incredible atmosphere. I think I got to lean at the moment Alabama just because it's in Tuscaloosa. And Tennessee's run defense concerns me a little bit, even if Jam Miller doesn't play for Alabama.
So after Alabama lost in the opening week, I was running around telling people, I'll be honest, Kalen DeBoer wasn't going to make it to week 4. Like, I was convinced
I'm
of
sure
that.
the sky was falling in Tuscaloosa.
I mean, knowing how Alabama folks are, I mean, I've lived in Tennessee for most of my adult life, 10 years here, 10 years in Chattanooga. Like, I'm familiar with your game, Alabama. Like, I know how your fans are. They're very similar to Tennessee fans in that they don't like losing. Like, they won't put up with it. So I've been really impressed, though, of how quickly they've been able to turn around and how good they look. I didn't give them any shot in that Georgia game, if I'm being completely honest. They found a way to win that, and they caught my attention because of that, because Tennessee, their only loss, as you mentioned, is to Georgia. Joey Aguilar has really been impressive. Like, I watched him all through his career at Appalachian State. Nice little quarterback. I thought it was a pretty good pickup last minute for Tennessee. I did not expect him to be playing the way that he's playing right now.
And Vols fans love him. When he was down, when he got the wind knocked out of him at the end of the game, loud Joey chants in Neyland. So the fan base is behind him for sure.
Yeah, well, he wants to be there, right? Yeah. The previous quarterback may or may not have wanted to be there.
Who will not be named.
Yes, well, I don't like saying his name anyway because I screw it up every time. So perfectly nice kid, but Joey Aguilar is a lot easier for a sportscaster to say.
Absolutely.
Lauren, whose work here, was great at it. I would just point to her and let her say the name. I could not say it. But I don't know about this game. Like, I really am on the fence because I think that Tennessee is probably as good as they were last year. I don't know that they're better, but they're as good as they were last year. I think Alabama is probably not quite as good as they were last year. But much like the ETSU Chattanooga game, there's something about Bryant-Denny Stadium. There's something about the aura of that place that Tennessee football can't seem to push through. They just can't. And I think coming off of last year, because Tennessee basically ended Alabama's playoff hopes I think they remember that. I think that they remember that. I think their fans remember that. I think that that's very much going to be top of mind. And I think they would like to return the favor.
Yes.
If Tennessee loses this game, their chances of the playoffs are probably over with. They may not get in even if they win this game, but if they lose, they're definitely not going to get in with 2 losses, given as strong as the SEC is right now. So, gosh, let me think about this. I think I'm going to go with Alabama. Don't hate me. I've been here a long time. No, I can take it. Just because it's in Bryant-Denny. I think if the game is in Knoxville, I might go with Tennessee. Yeah, I think these teams are that close. But we'll see. So when you look at the weekend, what are you most looking forward to this weekend?
I think it's got to be the third Saturday in October, Tennessee, Alabama. I'm curious to see what the line finishes at in terms of the points. I see it close. Maybe like a 34-28, 38-31 type of game where like a play here, play there, a turnover, a key mistake changes the game. I think it'll be close. I got to roll Alabama, no pun intended, roll Tide. Sorry, guys. But I think just the home field just flips it just that much.
I love this rivalry. I think it's great. I'm actually looking forward to it, and I'll probably spend a lot of time on my Saturday on the couch watching the ETSU Chattanooga game. Actually consider going down there because I kind of consider it like the Heather Bowl because I lived 10 years there, 10 years here. So really familiar with both communities. And as far as like small school rivalries go, it's one of the best ones I've seen across the country. The programs are so similar in a conference that's full of private schools, Mercer, Furman, Wofford. These are two public schools, very high, long traditions in basketball. Maybe not so much of a tradition in football, but both football programs on the way up. Chattanooga's already been up. ETSU's been kind of up and down with coaching changes and such, but definitely on the way up right now. I love the connection between Will Healy and Chattanooga. I've known Will. I think most of you that know me have heard this story a million times, but I've known Will since he was 15 years old. I covered him in high school as a quarterback. And don't let him fool you. He was one heck of a quarterback. We got recruited straight out of high school and went to Air Force for a few years, then transferred to Richmond. And that's where he met former Chattanooga head coach Russ Huseman while he was playing out there. And I have a ton of respect for Will. I have a ton of respect for Rusty Wright. I've known him a long time, too. I know that they were both friends. They were on the staff together at Chattanooga. I just think all the connections with all that makes this rivalry that couldn't possibly, in most people's mind, be any more intense. Just makes it way more interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that game as well. I wanted to ask you, because you brought it up, and I kind of got sidetracked because that's what I do. My mind goes all over the place. You mentioned briefly your initial thoughts of Neyland, but what was your experience like? Like, what was in your head going in there? Did it live up to it? What was that?
Yeah, it lived up to it. Coming from an ACC school and growing up Ohio State football fan, that wound might still be a little fresh.
Too soon.
Sorry. But growing up in a Big Ten house and then an ACC school for my education, I always heard the SEC just means more. And I found out for myself that, I believe it. I believe it. Neyland was simply incredible. And that was no disrespect to Arkansas, but an unranked Arkansas team. I can only imagine a game like this weekend if it was here in Knoxville.
Yeah, the first time you walk into that place, you're like, is this for real? It's huge, right? Yeah. And it's like the parting of the T, just like they get all the details, right? Yeah. And I will say the same thing. We haven't talked about Virginia Tech because they're off, and we will talk about them next week. But very similar, right?
So I have spent time at Virginia Tech when I was in Bluefield. Enter Sandman, absolutely incredible.
Best intro in sports.
Oh, easily.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Neyland is amazing. The atmosphere is crazy. It's perfect pitch for college football. But just Enter Sandman.
At night.
Yes.
I had the privilege of the Battle for the Black Diamond Trophy, West Virginia and Virginia Tech at night. Spectacular. It's as spectacular as you would think that it is.
Yeah, we're really blessed in the fact that we get to both those schools on both sides of the state line because it's two of the better atmospheres for college football.
And I do have to say, while we're talking about traditions and things like that, at ETSU when I was at the Mercer game, I heard Wagon Wheel come on in between the third and the fourth quarter. And I know that Johnson City, the reason I knew where Johnson City was before moving down here was because of Wagon Wheel. So Wagon Wheel comes on. I'm sitting in the press box and I'm thinking, I wonder if they're going to yell it when it comes out or something like that. And sure enough, you hear Johnson City and then boom.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. We won't talk about well, maybe we can. The incident last year when Darius Rucker came, but he wasn't allowed to sing. And so he just stood in the middle of the field and danced around the wheel.
That's just malpractice.
Yeah, it was weird.
Man right there and
it was weird.
The song.
It was so weird. You'll have to look it up on YouTube. I'll have to show you. It's
after we're done.
Yeah, it's really weird. But it was cool. It was cool that he was here. It was cool that he's embraced that the schools embraced that. And they play at all the sporting events. So it's a neat little thing for sure. So before we sign off, initial impressions of football around here, high school, college, whatever, what's been your...
People love their football. I've been to some high school games, college games, The passion is tremendous. And coming from New Jersey, like most of our high school games were played on like Saturday afternoons. So the whole Friday Night Lights deal was new when I first moved down to Bluefield, and it's continued here. I've seen some pretty nice atmospheres, and I'm excited to see the rest of the way as the games get bigger and bigger, and then we go into the postseason.
Yeah, and a little bit more competitive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of haves and have-nots. So I know you've seen a few blowouts, but I promise you, when we get into, as you know, you're familiar with Union Graham. When we start getting into the postseason, those games get crazy. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Glad to have the podcast back. We'll do this every Thursday and get you guys ready for the college football season. But thanks for joining us on the Stateline Sports Reporters Podcast.
Sponsored by Food City.